watch out, because here we come. It's the Disenfranchised Podcast. We're that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, coming on stronger than ever before. My co-host, Brett Wright, and Tucker are currently on a race around the world to see how much ill-begotten, disenfranchised merchandise they can leave in various parts of the earth. We wish them a speedy return. But I am not alone. To close out our 80s Animation Extravaganza month and Pride Month, something we have been regrettably neglectful of this month, we decided it would be best to bring on our two favorite queer animation nerds. It's been a while, but they're back in style.
Hi there. My name is Bex Stow, and my pronouns are they, them.
Hope Lichtner, she, her.
And we are
High
on
on
Cartoons.
It's a crossover, bitches. That's right. We are crossing over once again, Disenfranchised and High on Cartoons, two of your favorite podcasts, and if they're not, damn it, they should be. Here to talk about, Bex, what movie are we talking about today?
Oh yes, right under the bus.
We are. I feel so terrible being here to defend this movie. I don't know if I have a defense, but
You don't have to defend anything. I just asked you what movie we're covering. That's all I asked.
We are covering the most surreal, wild concept of an 80s animated film for children, that it's a miracle that this thing had a theatrical run.
Mm-hmm.
We are covering Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Chipmunk Adventure.
1987's The Chipmunk Adventure, directed by Janice Carmen, written by Carmen and Ross Bogdasarian Jr., and starring Bogdasarian and Carmen. Along with Dodie Goodman, Susan Tyrell, Anthony DeLongis. Frank Welker really has been our MVP this month. He has literally been in every movie that we've covered. From Transformers until now, he's been in all of them. And also Nancy Cartwright, Charlie Adler, Jack Angel, the immortal Mel Blanc, Laura Summer. What a cast. Dare I say it, people, what a picture.
Oh my gosh. This movie is a surreal fever dream.
But you know what? It's a good looking surreal fever dream.
Oh.
It's so pretty. It's really, really, like, I was saying this while we were watching it earlier. For a 1987 children's animated movie, it's actually pretty decently animated. There are some, especially the vistas with the around the world travel.
Oh my God.
That are like, they could be paintings. Like,
yeah.
There's some really gorgeous animation and artwork in this.
Just
Too bad it's hot garbage of a story.
It has not aged well, and that is putting it really, really favorably. Like, that is about the nicest thing you can say about it.
No, yeah, wow.
I'm actually going to argue the story is not the problem. Because my problem
the story is derivative.
Great bones. It's got a good structure to like a B science fiction, not like a B summer release, you know?
It definitely has B summer release energy. And then we get, all the negative shit, which I'm sure we will get into.
Yes, we will.
But I was watching this the other night with my partner, and I had to comment on how amazing, like, the backgrounds look. Like, just in the beginning, like, you haven't even seen any characters yet, just the backgrounds look fucking gorgeous in this. Like, and here's the thing, the animators on this film are way overqualified. Do you know why? Bex, do you know why the animators on this are so overqualified?
Why? Please share.
Because after a future episode of this podcast, The Black Cauldron tanked at the box office, Disney laid off a shit ton of their animators, including Glenn Keane, the son of the Family Circus creator Bill Keane. And they just laid off a shit ton of their animators. It was Glenn Keane,
so Glenn
Dan
Keane worked
Haskett
on this movie?
Yeah, Dave.
The legendary Glenn Keane, who went back to Disney and worked on Little Mermaid.
Yes. Disney laid them all off. Bogdasarian booked them all for a song, and then after this movie, Disney hired them back.
Wow,
that makes so much sense because we were looking it up. I was absolutely floored about the fact that this movie went into theaters. This had a cinematic run, And I was like, how did this even manage to happen? Well, we looked it up, and there wasn't a single Disney movie or a Bluth movie that came out in the same year.
Exactly.
And the only other thing in theaters was The Brave Little Toaster, which was
Yeah.
also a surreal fever dream.
There was something in the water. I also watched another 1987 earlier in the week, Prince of Darkness, which is another kind of surreal fever dream. So there was something in the water in 1987, I think.
But yeah, no, it's beautifully animated. Nothing else was released that year, and they went ham on the music for this movie.
Yes, they did.
So basically what happened was the TV show was so popular that Bagdasarian was approached by multiple studios saying, hey, we'll finance your movie. So they had money. So like they went to what was his name, Randy Edelman, I want to say, was Randy Edelman was the conductor of the London Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yes.
And
what?
That's why the music slaps so hard.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. The theme, the Chipmunk Adventure theme was,
and all of the musical interlude numbers are all done by the Royal Philharmonic. Which is why it goes so hard.
What is this movie?
An absolute nightmare.
It is. In almost every conceivable way.
Oh my god.
Right. No, you're right. That is a correct response, Hope. Yeah.
That's dumb. I understand that it's real. I understand you're not making this up. That's dumb.
I know, it's so
dumb that's real.
It's more ridiculous that you just told me that Glenn Keane worked on this. Like, what even? Some of the most talented animators of a generation happened to get picked up for this movie because it was an off year for the big studios.
Well, no, because Disney was in such a rate of decline in the 80s. Like, it took Howard motherfucking Ashman to turn that ship around. Like, hail one of the greats, Howard Ashman, like
and
Disney
Alan Menken,
MVP.
Yeah. But no, because that was like the whole Fox and the Hound like mutiny essentially,
right?
Where, like,
with Bluth and
yeah.
Burton and Bird and like all these like huge names in like animation and film, all just like pieced out of there.
Bye. Yeah, no, they all just left and did other stuff for a while
because Disney was like I think Williams too, Roger Williams, is that the guy who did I just forgot the name. He did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but also the Thief and the Cobbler.
Oh man, The Thief and the Cobbler isn't one I've seen, but I've heard of it.
It's kind of one of those like
well either.
It's one of those Weinstein debacle kind of BS kind of things where.
Isn't it also like mildly mythical in that it like took so long to get made?
Yeah, like that movie comes out in 1990. Richard Williams, not Roger. Richard Williams.
Sorry, I just sat there on Google too.
That movie comes out in 1993 and features the performance, a performance of Vincent Price, who had died earlier that year.
Whoa!
It is his last performance.
That's
it is
amazing.
Vincent Price's final performance. So
okay, so that was after Mouse Detective.
Yeah. Right. But like one of the gigs that he picked up was Who Framed Roger Rabbit while he was trying to, get funding and staff, because it was all independent. And then Weinstein picked it up and fucked it over like Weinstein do.
Like he does.
Yeah. Garbage man, Harvey Weinstein.
Yep. Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Yeah, no, but this movie, its existence is weird.
It's an anomaly.
I was really curious about like the whole timeline. I mean, we were Googling this earlier and stuff like that, but like you said, Disney in the decline. Their 80s is The Fox and the Hound, The Black Cauldron, The Great Mouse Detective, which comes out the year before this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards it's Oliver and Company.
Yeah.
And then in 89, it's obviously The Little Mermaid and the world was changed forever. But it's just, and then Don Bluth also, like the year before this is An American Tale. The year after this is
Land Before Time.
Land Before Time.
Both of which are huge hits for Bluth.
Right.
Absolutely. Like Bluth took on the mouse and almost won. He couldn't keep the quality consistent, unfortunately. But like he took on the mouse. If not for Ashman, he might have actually overthrown Disney animation.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for the if it hadn't been for the Renaissance and very specifically the music that drove those movies with Ashman and Menken behind the
and
wheel.
well, I mean, Ashman also, like I told you guys earlier on the on our Patreon show, What Are We Watching? Due out Sunday, that I watched the Howard Ashman documentary on Disney Plus, and like he was involved in the creative process on all of those Renaissance films too, like particularly the first three of
Little Mermaid,
Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin.
Yes.
Like he was very heavily involved in the creative aspects of those as well.
And he passed away, I think, right before Beauty and the Beast came out and while Aladdin was still in production.
Yeah, it was either right before or right after, but yeah, it was very like right in there. I think it was right after Beauty and the Beast. But yeah, like Aladdin was still in production. A lot of his songs ended up getting cut. Like Proud of Your Boy was a big one that got cut.
That's
I think
the controversial one. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I think it got added back for the Broadway run or version of it. I think it did. Yeah. So yeah, but controversial because terrible people are terrible. Not controversial because the song for any reason.
No, controversial because it's just fine. But honestly, do you think that those terrible people would like it if they knew who wrote it? If they knew that it was a gay man who died of AIDS? Like,
I think that about, you guys have seen Cabaret, right?
Yes.
No.
Candor and Ebb.
Yes.
Two gay Jewish men wrote what became the fucking neo-Nazi anthem, Tomorrow Belongs to Me. And it's my favorite moment in the movie. It's like such a haunting moment. It fucking floors me every time I watch it. Like it's the reason why I adore that movie so much. I'm tearing up just thinking about how powerful that moment is. And to have that song co-opted, and it's the reason it's so powerful is because it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Because it's written from a place of like generational trauma.
Yeah.
And like, and like having been afraid for your life for your entire life. And that's not, but then they put all those words that fascists understand.
But they put those words in the mouth of a literal Nazi. And so it's like, it's that counter, like it's a song that can only be told from a Jewish perspective in the mouth of the one exterminating those people. And it's like, it's a mind fuck. And I mean that in the best possible, and Fosse films it so well. But like it's such an incredible moment. But then to see that song then co-opted, I'm like, you guys know who wrote that, right? Like, you have to know. And if you don't,
they don't.
Maybe. But that's just it. They don't care. They don't care.
They just took it at face value, and it's exactly the kind of people they are.
They're not going to let something as simple as a fact get in the way of anything.
Why start now? Roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about Cabaret is that like if you don't know what you're watching, the World War II of it all sneaks up on you.
It does. It just smacks you right across the face like a dead fish. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, this is a really fun club. This is great. What time? It's fine.
Weimar what now?
Yeah. Exactly. Like
right. Yeah, it's my favorite movie of the 1970s, and that is my favorite decade of film. So I do not say that lightly. Like Cabaret fucking slaps. I love Cabaret.
Guess I have to watch Cabaret now.
Yeah, we'll have to go back to that one.
You absolutely have to watch Cabaret.
Shit, all right.
My partner still hasn't seen Cabaret, so I need to show her Cabaret too. So
personally my favorite film of the 1970s probably Jaws.
No, Jaws is a perfect masterpiece. I think some alternate versions of Brett and I covered it on this podcast once upon a time. So yeah, one of those multiversal situations. Yeah,
where somehow it wasn't
right. Right. Well, I mean, I think they still agreed it was a masterpiece.
That's the timeline in which the shark functioned.
Shows up right away. Very obviously McPot.
Great.
Nom nom.
C+.
God, you can see the screws. This isn't real at all.
Oh my God.
Anyway, we are here to talk about 1987's The Chipmunk Adventure. And so let's get into, before we get too much deeper into it, let's talk about the plot of The Chipmunk Adventure from 1987.
Oh, I'm so excited for this.
All right. Hope, are you ready to give the plot in 60 seconds?
I will break your kneecaps. I'll drive to where you are.
No, seriously, Hope. Let's
It's,
please tell us about this film.
I hate everybody.
Hold on, let me get 60 seconds on the clock.
I knew this was coming. Son of a bitch.
I was gonna say it's not like we didn't
this
prep you for this.
This is revenge.
It may have been a joke.
It may have started as a joke, but it sure didn't end that way. All right, your time starts. First of all, let me intro this segment.
Okay.
For those who've never listened to the show, first of all, why are you starting with this episode? But second of all, hi, welcome. We are. This is the part of the show where we recap the plot of the movie in 60 seconds or less. And I will give the 30 and 10-second warnings. Usually we roll the D6 of destiny, but Brett's not here, and we have guests, so that's how we're doing it. So, Hope, the time will start whenever you are ready.
See, if I never start, the timer.
No, you already started. Time's going.
Ah!
What's the plot, Hope?
Ah, fuck. I thought I could get away with that move. Fuck.
Alvin.
Dimorphic clones of various chipmunk characters are sent on a globe-trotting mission around the world to exchange diamonds for cash, and it's weird, and it's very strange, and
30
it's very
seconds.
weird. And these two gumshoes keep slipping through the cracks. There's no
different
case
chipmunks.
too big, no case too small. If you need help, just call
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Sure.
10 seconds.
So son of a bitch, I didn't even run out the clock with the song. Fuck me running. 3, 2, it's okay.
That's time. That's time. All right, Bex, I think you could probably do better if you actually want to give a plot.
I do, in fact, but I have a question for you, Stephen. Have you ever realized, and or when did you realize that that y'all have a great acronym for plot in 60 seconds?
Fuck. Today.
Oh shit.
Today I learned. Thank you. I know Tucker, when he's editing this, is going to seize hold of that. And if there's one thing Tucker does not need, it's ammunition. So thank you for providing that.
You're more than welcome. I realized that when I was writing this, and I was like, that's okay, great.
I guess we're going to have to start calling this the piss take.
Hey!
Ugh, I hate that for myself. Okay. All right, Bex, whenever you're ready to take the piss.
Alvin and the Chipmunks race the Chipettes around the world in adorable hot air balloons in this globe-trotting adventure jam-packed with animated hijinks, international diamond smuggling, and non-stop bangers that have absolutely no right to be as good as they are. With numerous scenes and themes that are definitely inappropriate for children, this movie answers the question, what if Martin Scorsese wrote and directed an animated film for kids? With Dave off on a European business trip, a travel-obsessed Alvin is overheard and the kids are approached by Klaus and Claudia, sibling leaders of an international diamond smuggling ring, who dupe the kids into the race as cover for delivering jewels and collecting payments stuffed inside Chipmunk and Chipette stuffed animals. The kids grift their guardians, encounter bad racial stereotypes, life and death close calls, and an outlandish bad guy bait and switch before scraping back home to safety.
10 seconds. Oh, and they're already done.
Son of a bitch.
Hot damn.
All right. Nice.
Hot damn. Wow, what a picture. No, that was, first of all, incredible recap. Why are you not voicing trailers?
Stupid human tricks.
I got a few, yeah.
Yeah, I cold wrote that like 2 nights ago after Hope was like, oh, by the way, we're recording with them on Sunday. And I was like, I probably need to write one of those. That's what I came up with in about 10 minutes.
Now, okay.
No, so that's for 10 minutes. That's solid.
My question is, and I'm worried about the answer actually, is did you do that from memory or did you have like the Wikipedia article?
No, I wrote that. I cold wrote that from memory, just thinking about it.
So Bex, this is normally how we start episodes, but we got kind of sidetracked. Amazing that the three of us managed to somehow find a way to get sidetracked. But Bex, like this is when Hope and I were kind of discussing the possibility of doing an 80s animation month on Disenfranchised and what that would entail. Or I think maybe it was just that she mentioned that the two of you were watching that movie and that it was one of your favorites. And I was like, well, that's an episode one day. And Hope's like, we're on
likely.
it.
That's likely that I said that. Yeah.
In the way that only Hope does, just saying, oh, that's something you guys are going to do. Well, I'm going to do it with you. Do you like it? I don't care.
I'm
there. Just kind of planting her flag as she is wont to do.
But yes, I'm invited now.
Yes. Oh, this is also my podcast. Thank you.
I love being called out.
Buckle up, because when I get to be on, it's I'm gonna Hope Lichtner filibuster that bitch, and it's gonna be a delight.
Oh, son of a bitch! I'm in for it.
I'm so excited about that. That's gonna be
great. I have lists of things that I want to do on that show. I'm actually going to have to re-listen to your entire show before I do, to remind myself of what some bits I've forgotten that I wanted to do are.
Thanks. That's dedication. I appreciate it.
Based solely on shit that the two of you have said over the course of the entire run. Like, one of you will say something and I'll be like, oh, and my brain will go off on a tangent. And for 5 minutes, I'm thinking about something, not realizing the two of you are still talking on my phone. And I'm like, oh, there's an episode going. And then I'll focus in on the episode and I'll forget what I was just talking about. But there's one in particular that I have locked away, and I am currently compiling a list of things that I'm just going to rep, and I'm going to spring it on you, and I'm going to give you mine, and I'm going to challenge you to come up with something better.
Oh my God.
And I'm not going to tell you what it is beforehand. I'm so excited.
Steven, I so much appreciate that you listen to our podcast so regularly.
No, I have a blast with your podcast. I look, Hope and I have been friends since she found me on Twitter, probably based on something I tweeted to the Blank Check podcast.
Probably.
That's
likely.
That
sounds right. I definitely remember your Orson Welles avatar.
Yes, I also had an old man Welles avatar. Yeah. And so the two of us started like engaging, and then when she started Frank Reviews, I was like, oh, well, I'll listen to this. I follow this person on Twitter. Yeah, absolutely. And I started listening, and then we started like DMing and chatting, and we became friends based on that. And now we text regularly.
Mostly it's me harassing you about, unfortunately,
Dune.
Yeah, because I read the books, and
yeah,
I think I'm done with Dune for a while.
My favorite thing. The other day, we decided to name Dune sequels based on the titles of other sequels. And I fired off a few at you like rapid fire, and you were like, okay, but no joke, you literally just described the plots of these 3 Dune novels.
It's sad. It's actually really sad.
Why, Frank Herbert? Why?
I
mean, a question that she was asking, but no, I love while she finds that thread of our conversation. No, I love you guys. I love your podcast.
We text a lot. This is worrying.
We've been texting a lot these past couple weeks. Yeah.
Here it goes. You came up with a Dune 2, even Duner, which I quite like.
Yeah.
Dune 2, a Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. Yeah.
Top quality fun. Okay, so.
Aces.
So your Dune sequel title was Dune 2, My Big Fat Arakian Wedding, which is just God Emperor Dune. Paul Atreides and the Temple of Dune, which is just Dune Messiah, and the Bene Gesserit Strike Back, which is just Heretics of Dune. So, like, no, it's worrying how well that lined up.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we're just a couple of big old nerds, and I love that.
You know what? In order to get us back on track, to a subject I don't really know anything about, I'm going to say that a good sequel name for Dune would be Dune 2: The Squeakquel.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about the.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen any of the live action films.
Okay, never mind. We don't have to talk about them at all then. Great.
I'm okay with that because, this is already a total guilty pleasure for me. But after, like, I really appreciate this opportunity to have really applied some analysis to it. But like, I didn't realize I was a super fan until I started doing research, and 4 Wikipedia articles later, I feel like I'm a foremost scholar on the Bagdasarian Company. Because it's really not that deep. There isn't that much there.
So before we get into the history of Alvin and the Chipmunks, let's dive into your specific history with Alvin and the Chipmunks. Bex, like, because we were talking before the recording and you said you weren't really big on the show. So like, what was this your entry point? Like, was it the music? Like, where did you come in on Alvin and the Chipmunks?
It was literally this movie. I had this movie on VHS as a small autistic child and just watched it on repeat like autistic kids do because it was engaging, it was really pretty, and it had music. It's like literally it's a song every 5 minutes after you get through the first 20.
It really is, yeah.
So it was just
first 20
really engaging, and I just watched it on repeat as a kid. So I unfortunately have it mostly memorized.
Right on. So like your literally your knowledge of Alvin and the Chipmunks kind of begins and ends with this movie then.
It doesn't begin and end with this movie.
Okay.
I also watched the Universal monster movie Alvin and the Chipmunks movies that came out in the early 90s or late 90s.
Those. Yeah.
One of them still holds up, the other is not great.
Imagine. With the legacy that this movie begins, imagine.
Right.
That the direct to video like spin-offs would be bad.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they were like, okay, we've got like, I think they had a deal with Universal at the time, and because the Bagdasarian company is super possessive of these characters, and because it's the only thing they own,
literally,
that's all that they have, and that's all that they take care of. So I think they had a deal with Universal where they did a Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet Frankenstein and Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman somewhere around 99, 2000-ish.
Right. I remember Hope texting me during Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman.
Yeah, because it features Maurice LaMarche, and he's holding a silver-headed wolf cane.
Yeah, no, it's
silver wolf head cane, whatever. And I'm like, oh no, I gotta text.
And his name is Lawrence Talbot, right?
Yeah, no, it's literally just the Wolfman.
They use the verse. They say, even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. They say it in the show.
They have Alvin say it
in the chipmunk voice. It's infuriating.
So it's pretty much like that's the one that holds up. Because it basically is just the chipmunks stuck into a Wolfman movie.
And another perfect example of the songs slapping harder than they should be, unfortunately.
That's kind of the thing with the post 80s chipmunks is when I was in college, I discovered audio piracy. like many people my age.
But of course, you've been clean for well beyond the statute of limitations, correct?
Correct. Yes? Yeah, okay, right.
Good,
There's
good.
So this is all
now.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, in that alternate timeline where that alternate Brett and I recorded those episodes on Jaws and Predator. But no. I did so. I realized that there were actually Alvin and the Chipmunk CDs. That they released where Alvin and the Chipmunks would cover like genres of music.
Yeah.
And the one that stuck out to me the most, and to me, the one that slapped the hardest was Alvin and the Chipmunks singing Brooks and Dunn's Boot Scootin' Boogie.
Huh. That's an interesting take.
I can't explain it. Instead of whiskey, women, music, and smokes, it's root beer, women, music, and jokes.
Because they had to kidify it.
Children,
yeah.
Right. It's basically Alvin and the Chipmunks is basically Kids Bop sped up a lot.
Yeah, essentially.
What's the correlation between the rise of Kids Bop and the fall of the Chipmunks as a property? Is there a correlation?
I don't know.
There might be. I think you need to research that.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Not right now. Not right now.
Given my fucking reputation on this program as like a recurring villain, I guess.
A lovable foil. A lovable foil.
The Chipmunks was never my thing. I was a Chippendale Rescue Rangers kid, obviously. And this
surprised that never came up.
I enjoy the dichotomy there that you had to choose a chipmunk.
Those are the two, right?
I liked both, but go on.
Same. I didn't realize you had to pick.
The singing of Alvin and the Chipmunks always grated on my nerves as a kid. So I never really liked those. So for me, there was a choice between the two chipmunk properties, and it's the one that doesn't involve those voices singing.
So, I mean,
we're less musical, but they still sang.
So how do you feel about wanting hula hoops and a plane that loops the loop?
I think that the Patton Oswalt bit on that track is the best thing to come out of the Chipmunks, personally speaking. It's just where it's three normal guys talking regularly, and then the voice of Alvin. That's what I like about the Chipmunks, to be honest. So
I mean, it's
I
not
have
that
nothing
far off.
truly to bring to this episode besides some other quasi-related horse shit that we'll get to later. So I'm personally just excited to watch you info dump for the next.
That's what I'm here
how
for.
long was Dune? 306. You could do 307. I think you got it in. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, we're half an hour in already, and Bex, I think your hard out is still 2 hours away. So
yeah.
So I think we can at least rack up a good episode. Meanwhile, Tucker is now, as he's editing this, sobbing into his headphones.
I'm so sorry.
I'm
so sorry.
You know what? That's not true, because he actually can see the runtime of this episode and we can't. Because what is future for us is past for him. Correct.
Yeah. We're still in the thick of it.
Right, we're in it. How is this going to end? I don't know. My history with Alvin and the Chipmunk, I think so. I might actually be the most well-rounded Chipmunk fan on the episode.
Probably.
I watched the show. The show is as old as I am. We both turned 40 this year. So I grew up on Alvin and the Chipmunks. Like, that was my jam as a child, one of many jams that I had as a child. So I think of the properties that we've discussed this month so far, which is to say Transformers, My Little Pony, and G.I. Joe, this is the one I'm probably the most nostalgic for.
Wait, which My Little Pony movie did you get? Never mind. I'll go back and look.
87. Or 86, whenever.
You know what's disgusting? I shouldn't have any attachment to any of these films. I'm a 90s baby.
You had an older brother, though, that engaged with a lot of this stuff.
I do have an older brother, and we also had a Betamax VHS that we recorded everything on off the television.
See, I listened to your podcast. I wouldn't have known that otherwise. That came up on an episode, and I clocked that. But so this is what I'm probably the most nostalgic for, and so nostalgic for it was I was one of those super dumb kids who got so used to getting up at a certain time. Like, I had to get up ungodly early because my parents had to get to work early, and they would drop me off at a daycare in the morning before I would go to school. So on Saturday mornings, when my parents were trying to, do what adults do and sleep in, I was awake at like 6 a.m, 5:30 in the morning.
So sorry.
And I want to my parents who aren't listening to this. Yes, I am sorry. But me, I was like, hell yeah, cartoons. And so I eventually had to learn how to turn on the TV, turn the volume down so my parents wouldn't wake up while I was watching. And I would watch like 50s and 60s cartoons, like the Beanie and Cecil Show, Tennessee Tuxedo, and the Alvin Show.
I suddenly understand you completely.
Mm-hmm.
That explains like a lot right there. Okay.
This is honestly, this is a big part of the reason why when I was in high school, I would listen to the oldies station. I was a 15-year-old fan of 50s, 60s, and 70s music.
Oh, you were a hipster before it was cool.
Which may be the most hipster thing you could possibly say about me.
Proto hipster.
But no, I didn't even think of it like that. Like, I didn't think it was cool. I just thought, like, this is fun.
This is what I like.
I loved old shit. Like, I would go, and I was obsessed with characters that I didn't know anything about. Like, regrettably, I would get Disney books from like the 80s, and I would see characters from like, I'm admitting this in a public forum, Song of the South, and I'd be like, these characters fascinate me because I don't know who they are. And so I'd be like obsessed with those characters, and then come to find out later they are horribly racist caricatures.
Oh, no.
Great. Something in common.
Yeah. That sounds related to our topic of the day.
I was going to say, Bex knows what I'm saying. We'll come back to that point. Let's put a pin in that.
Oh boy.
We will come back to that. And like I would go to like flea markets and find McDonaldland glasses from the 70s with like Captain Crook and old school versions of Grimace and the Hamburglar and Big Mac and Mayor McCheese. And I became obsessed with these characters because they weren't a part of the commercials that I grew up with as a kid in the 80s. So like I was obsessed with all of those like obscure cartoons and obscure characters that I didn't know. And so my favorite characters on the Alvin show very quickly became Clyde Crash Cup and his assistant Leonardo. Clyde Crash Cup was this, I mean, hashtag Crash Cup stands unite, I guess. Crash Cup Hive where? You guys are both now feverishly Googling Clyde Crash Cup.
Yep.
He was this tall, thin scientist with a big like triangle nose and a wiry little mustache, who was a terrible scientist who would invent things that had already been invented. And then his assistant Leonardo was a short, squat, bald man with glasses who never said anything, whereas Clyde Crash Cup would talk at end about all sorts of nonsense. And he was the smarter of the two. It was kind of a weird reverse Bunsen and Beaker kind of dynamic between the two of them. And I thought Clyde Crash Cup was the shit. I loved me some Clyde Crash Cup. And
I'm looking at the Google image search and I get it. Yes.
I think he only showed up in like one of the once the show went off the air in 1990, I think he showed up in one of the direct to video like spin-off videos. I think it was like Monk to the Future, like the Back to the Future spin-off where he shows up as the Doc Brown analog.
Oh, I hate that. That's amazing, and I hate that.
Yeah, no, that works.
Oh God.
So
well,
yeah,
they do mention they attend like the Crash Cup University in the Meet the Wolfman.
Correct.
There you go. Okay.
And that is what that is a reference to. You are welcome. Yeah, but no, good. Clyde Crash Cup was 100% my shit.
I'm thrilled to discover that Alvin and the Chipmunks has lore. I'm so excited by this knowledge.
So like, and I know the theme songs for that one. That's one of the few theme songs from before I was born that I actually know. This is the Alvin Show. The Alvin Show. You're positively gonna love the Alvin Show. I'll stop. No one wants to hear me sing. But no, and then as I got, as I watched the show, I watched, but I was out on the videos. I think we rented this one in the early days of VHS. I think this was a rental for the Foxworthy family. I remember 2 scenes from this movie in vivid detail. I remember, it's just the image during the Girls of Rock and Roll number where Alvin, Simon, and Theodore pop up their little heads into the headless statues of like the Thinker, Dionysus, and Atlas, I think. And then I remember the entirety of the regrettable Wooly Bully number.
Oh. Yeah, that's not great.
Not a good look.
Oh God.
Nah.
Not. Please, I mean, I mentioned that Nancy Cartwright and Frank Welker are in this movie. Please don't look up who they play.
I mean, Welker, to be fair, Frank Welker plays all of the animals as well.
Correct.
He does play Sophie the dog. He plays the little penguin. So
yeah,
like,
that's true.
Frank Welker was a lot of things.
Butter. I mean, that's just Frank Welker.
Well, that and this was also several years before The Lion King. So this is before he became like really big. He was just doing anything and everything, which happened to be literally everything.
Right.
Because the man could do any animal voice. So it was just like, stick him in literally any and every film.
And this is why he's been, and there have been a number of people that have been in 3 of the 4 movies that we covered this month, like Charlie Adler or Peter Cullen, Jack Angel. They've been in multiple, but not all. Frank Welker's been in everything. And then
Frank Welker is the constant.
He is. He is. So back in college, I was a part of a message board, and one of the people on the message board did an interview with Frank Welker at some point, and like we got to ask questions. And so I asked him about his work doing animal noises and like how he got started. I forget how he answered, but I signed my real name, Stephen Foxworthy, which I did not do on that message board very often. And he goes, well, I find it very ironic that Mr. Foxworthy is asking me a question about my animal work. And I was just like, Frank Welker made fun of my name. I love that. I love that. Like I've arrived.
That
core memory.
That feels like the Mark Hamill Groucho Marx moment. So well done. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
So yeah, so I mean I love Frank Welker. Like he is the MVP of this month for us, and just God, what a
He might be the
talent.
MVP of 1980s animation.
Might be the MVP of like voice work in general. He was
animation voice work for sure.
Up until Scoob, he is the only person to provide the voice of Fred in animation, other than Freddie Prinze Jr., who did it like a couple times.
And he was the live action,
right?
But man, Scoob
like
even for everybody.
Like there was an episode with there's an episode of Family Guy where like they do a Scooby-Doo joke, and literally there's one line, and Frank Welker comes in to voice Fred for that one fucking line because he's
Frank Welker.
Dedication.
And because I'm pretty sure the man has his own recording studio in his house. Like, you can just email him and he'll just go down, do the line, send it to you, be done.
Most of them do. Most of the big voiceover actors do, because it's cheaper than having to rent studio space. Just build your own and it pays for itself after like X amount of gigs.
That's
most really musicians I know do that too for the same reason. But I like it. This feels like a passing of the torch kind of movie, because this movie features both the new GOAT and the OG GOAT, Mel Blanc, in this movie doing some additional voices. And so this feels like in a weird way kind of a passing of the torch kind of movie, because this I think maybe the first Mel Blanc movie we've covered this month. We have previously covered the Jetsons, the movie, which is weirdly our most downloaded episode of all time.
Funky.
What? I was usurped? Excuse me?
Oh, you've been usurped a few times over, I'm sorry to say.
Me?
I mean,
Jetsons?
The Jetsons, yeah.
And that's just how time progresses.
That's
we got more downloads on that episode in a month than I think we had on every other episode that we'd ever released in its entire lifespan. So
interesting.
Like that was for, we released that one right around when the actual birth date of George Jetson was supposed to be.
Oh, right.
Oh, there
so
you go.
We basically capitalized on a meme, and it worked out really well for us is what happened.
It can,
that makes a depressing amount of sense.
I think, what did we happen to cover around the time one of the stars died and it surprisingly did well? Bedknobs and Broomsticks?
Bedknobs and Broomsticks, yes.
We covered Angela that right after Angela Lansbury passed,
Yeah.
R.I.P. Another GOAT. Yeah, absolutely.
Another absolute legend.
Right, and deservedly so. Like, she
also did a lot of voice work. Yeah,
she really did. Yeah. I mean,
speaking of Howard Ashman, she was Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, there is the best part of the Ashman documentary. If I can go back to that, what am I talking about? Of course I can. It's my podcast. The thing that makes that worth the price of admission is they actually do have footage of Lansbury and Orbach recording Be Our Guest with Ashman in the studio.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
Like, if you just want to fast forward to those parts, like the rest of it kind of sucks, but that part is what makes it worth watching.
Okay.
Is being able to see him directing Jerry Orbach, who even in the late 80s is still in like is basically in full on 90s grandpa mode. Like with the short button up shirt, like in the high-waisted pants, and just kind of like one hand on his back hip the whole time. It's, God, what a delight Jerry Orbach was. Love that man. But yeah, God, Chipmunk Adventure, Bex. Let's get into the history of the Chipmunk brand and the Bogdasarians. I defer now to you and your expertise. Info dump all over this sumbitch.
I don't have to edit this one. I don't have to know anything on this one. This is a day off for me. I'm into this.
So the creation of Alvin and the Chipmunks came about when one dude, Ross Bagdasarian Sr., was literally doing the 1950s equivalent of podcasting. He was just playing with recording equipment and cutting reel-to-reel and speeding up recordings of himself singing various tracks on single songs.
Right.
And in 1958, he released both Witch Doctor and the Chipmunks Christmas song, and it was
aptly
suddenly
titled
a huge
The
hit.
Chipmunk Song.
And they were huge hits. They both hit Billboard #1. So within 2 years, right?
To me.
That's absolutely nuts. And this dude was literally just cutting stuff together at his house. Like, it wasn't.
Bex.
He was a professional actor. He was like a voice actor. He had this capability, but he just started doing like dang man.
Did you say the guy who created the Chipmunks was nuts?
Yes. Yeah, no, it was
Worth
utterly wild. Yeah, I mad respect. So they created these characters, and this is all they got. It's a one-trick pony. So they built the entire company around the ownership of just these characters, and built out from there. So it was the 1960s cartoon that lasted one season, the Alvin Show.
Yeah.
And then it came back around in like I want to say 83 was when the new season, the new show, what was it called? The Alvin and the Chipmunks show?
Alvin and the Chipmunks, just Alvin and the Chipmunks.
It was just Alvin and the Chipmunks. Okay. That ran from 83 to 90.
Correct.
And somewhere in like the mid 80s, the show was doing really well, and the Bagdasarian company was approached by multiple studios who were like, hey, your show's doing really well, we would be interested in a movie.
Disney's been shit in the bed lately. Can you give us something for kids?
Literally. It was just like, the market's dry, we need something to put out that families are going to go see. Can you write us something?
Right.
So Ross Bagdasarian Jr. and Janice Carmen, who I feel like is also related to the family. I'm not sure.
She would marry Ross Bagdasarian Jr.
Yeah.
I think they either married. I think they married during the production of this movie, if I'm not mistaken. That
makes sense. Yeah. So it's literally just a family business. The interesting thing is that they did bring on some anonymous director very early on who did basic boards and kind of outline, and who was very quickly ousted, and Carmen was put in as director. So right. Carmen was directing, Bagdasarian was producing, and they both voice all of the fucking characters.
Yeah. I mean, Bagdasarian is Alvin, Simon, and Dave, and Carmen is all three Chipettes and Theodore.
Yeah. So that's the whole cast. Also, all of the main characters.
The 80s trope of we need to make this historically all-male property marketable to girls. Let's make carbon copies of the actual of the main characters, but make them girls.
Not only that, but they're so heavily fashioned for the 80s. Like Britney's in leg warmers, for Christ's sake.
This sent my partner and I down a deep rabbit hole, and now we are in the process of discussing and examining like the evolution and history of women in animated sitcoms. Like this is like a deep well that you've managed to push us down completely by accident.
Well, I apologize for that.
Don't bother, it's fine.
I do really appreciate having the opportunity to deeper analyze this, because like my nostalgia goggles are real hard for this. Like I've loved this movie for most of my life, but as a 32-year-old watching this movie, it's really fucked up.
So let's get into that.
Boy, howdy, is it? Ooh, I actually have something.
Let's get into the fucked upness of this thing, because you're not wrong. Like, to say this movie has not aged well is maybe the biggest understatement that we could possibly
as
say.
Gentle as it could be said, yeah.
Which is not to say this movie does not have its merits, but oof.
So this is actually something I have something to bring to this episode. I did a little digging a while back. Newsweek article from August 5th, 2021. This kid's film branded most problematic ever for sexualizing characters. And it's not, I'm going to say, a great article. I feel very bad for saying that. Sorry, Rebecca Flood. But it definitely feels like Parker, we need 1,500 words to fill space. Get on it.
I'm going to need you to text me that so I can include that in the show notes for this episode.
Absolutely. Let me do that right now. But it feels like they just found somebody that was just live tweeting this movie or something like that, with the extremely short skirts and all of the worrying, I guess, panty shots, which is upsetting to say out loud.
Deeply upsetting.
That so much.
I mean, if you think it's upsetting to say out loud, try watching it.
Yeah, gross. See, I don't know. I because I watched this with nostalgia goggles and I was a little girl myself when watching this, I
Mhm.
never sexualized the characters. Like that
Why
wasn't a
would you?
context that I had.
You were a
So
child. You would not have
exactly.
even thought to do that,
And
right?
they are also children. So like it wasn't a thing that made sense in my head. Also, like the outfits that are most criticized for being sexualized, Jasmine wears the same fucking thing like 5 years later.
Very true.
I'm not arguing. Like, yeah, no,
But like watching
Jasmine's
it as
also
an adult, no,
15. I did a Google
it's
search on Disney
gross.
princesses.
And the song they're singing.
Yeah,
The song
no.
they're singing.
I was so when I was researching the music for this movie, I was really because I knew it was a mix of covers and originals. I was really hoping that was a cover. I was really hoping that particular song hadn't been specifically written for this film, and it was.
The
And that
song is called
Getting Lucky.
Getting Lucky.
Oh God.
And it
And
is
it is
after
exactly what it sounds like.
it is after Nancy Cartwright's character, yes, Bart Simpson herself,
As a
based-
5-year-old child.
as a
As a
5-year-old
5-year-old child king.
in Saudi Arabia.
Cairo, Egypt.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you're right. It is Cairo. You're right. He's credited as Arabian Prince, which is why
Yeah,
but
it's gross. It's gross.
But he does that fucking laugh.
Yeah, no, he just sounds like Bart Simpson with a bad
Bart
accent.
Simpson laugh, and it's even more upsetting. It's 2 years before Bart Simpson was a thing.
Yes, when Nancy Cartwright was just a work for hire voice actress. Yeah,
exactly.
Before she became one of the highest paid voice actors ever in the industry.
This movie is so weird.
It sells the Chipettes into sex slavery, basically.
Literally, like they get trafficked.
Yeah, they are trafficked.
These 9-year-old girls get trafficked.
Yeah,
not
and he's going to marry them.
Trafficking.
And she was very, very against it until she realizes that he's rich, and then wants to know how rich he is. This movie is fucked.
This movie is so fucking problematic.
And so they're put in the Jasmine outfits, and then in order to escape a room full of snakes, which holds the MacGuffins for this movie, they, in order to charm the snakes to leave them alone, they sing a song where the chorus is basically, I want to be getting lucky with you.
No, it's the entire song.
While they dance
literally
with snakes.
The entire song. It's essentially the equivalent of like a Billy Joel, Only the Good Die Young, or like a Meatloaf, Paradise by the Dashboard Lights type of song.
Yeah.
Except it's being sung by 9-year-old girls.
Correct. To a bunch of phallically shaped animals. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not a good look. No. And
if it was a song that had different context, it'd be great. Because it's an annoyingly catchy song.
I'm gonna make a confession to you right now. I remembered being able to. It's not. Don't worry. I'm not gonna come off as a fucking creep here. I could understand everything the Chipmunks and Chipettes were saying just fine. As soon as they started singing, I could not understand a fucking word.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why. Part of it, I think, was because I was watching a rip of this movie on YouTube, because this movie is not available to stream, download, or rent anywhere.
This movie is impossible to find, and then there's me, who owns it both on DVD and in digital.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a topic I come back to constantly: the importance of physical media. Damn it, you've called me a physical media princess.
I did.
You are. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just got a new
I'm more of a physical
4Ks.
media vassal myself, but yeah.
New stack of 4Ks today arrived today. We've got T2
Worship
Judgment Day, Evil Dead 2, and Independence Day, which I'm very excited for. But
I have Evil Dead 2 on 4K. It looks so good. It looks so
excited.
good.
I'm so excited.
Just for the chasing through the walls scene.
Bex, it looks amazing. My partner's sister was in town a couple months ago, and we put that on because she'd never seen it. And oh my God, it looks so gorgeous. It looks so good.
Beautiful. Very excited for that. Anyway, but the fact that, like, I mean, we talked about this on a better movie, I'd say, Cats Don't Dance, a while back. But that's another movie that only got one DVD release at like the early days of DVD. It obviously didn't have really any substantive hit at the box office. And now you can't find it anywhere except for in a rental on YouTube in a 3:4, not its original. It's the final quote unquote performance of Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
The Chipmunk movie is not that movie, which is very good.
Right.
The Chipmunk movie suffers, unfortunately, the same fate to go for $30 for a DVD on eBay.
Because it's out of fucking print and has been for almost 20 years.
Upset.
Yep.
The good news is the Girls of Rock and Roll sequence is available on YouTube, and you can just watch it whenever you want. And
here's the thing.
It's the
maybe the
apex
best
of
part of the movie.
It literally is.
Easily, yes.
There are, so out of the
In fact, if you're listening to this and have never seen this movie before, don't watch it. Just watch that YouTube video.
Yeah.
There
Save
are...
yourself.
For real.
So this film is essentially 20 minutes of plot setup of absolutely ridiculous plot. And then basically every 5 minutes you get a song and or montage. That's the film.
Or both.
Yeah. God, that first 20 minutes though, it takes a while.
It does. It's
by the time they start singing at minute 21:50, I think you timed it out. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. It's just like, oh right, they're a musical act.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
That's what they. Oh, okay.
And the first song
this
that
is
they
the premise of the show, right?
Yeah. So, and right off the bat, so basically what ends up happening is we open the film with Dave Seville packing for a business trip. He's going to Europe. He's going to be gone for several weeks. Alvin is desperate to go with him. He's bored and he really wants to travel and see the world. Dave leaves and the kids are being babysat by the ever gullible Miss Miller. And the kids are, for some reason, they're in like a diner playing a video game on a cabinet, which is racing around the world in 30 days. And it's Alvin versus Brittany on these like little digital hot air balloons.
Much like this movie.
And they're making a big ruckus. And over here at this table, we have these two characters who are like generic European bad guys.
Yes. The most stereotypically ugly bad guys.
Yeah, but with no specific accent, just kind of a generic European
vaguely
type.
German.
Yeah,
It
possibly
kind of
Russian.
wanders
Like
around.
it really, like
Yeah.
it's vaguely
Very Eastern European Slavic kind of,
type of deal, but not specific enough to really recognize.
Yeah,
And
maybe they speak, maybe they write in Cyrillic, maybe they don't. Who's to say? Not me.
Right? Like, so, and they proceed to banter back and forth about their diamond smuggling in public.
It's yeah.
And they overhear the kids talking about wanting to travel and race around the world. And so they approach these 6 children with the offer of flying them around the world completely independently with no supervision in unregistered, unregulated hot air balloons.
How many times do you think Matt Gaetz has seen this movie?
Did he grow up on it?
I have no fucking idea. I
would
wouldn't be surprised.
I
wouldn't be surprised.
Oh
What with
God,
the whole trafficking children thing.
Woof.
God.
Oh man.
Oh.
So they just like convince these kids to race around the world, and then the kids have to con their babysitter in order to get away. And like Simon, the only reasonable one, is just begging the adults to please not do this.
Because you see, in the 80s we had shorthand for characters. If he had a hat, he was cool. If he had glasses, he was a nerd. And if he was fat, then all he wanted to do was eat and talk about eating. And as a short fat person, I contain multitudes. Okay, right.
Genders indeed.
As a fat person, I contain multitudes, both literally and figuratively. Right.
Well, it just goes back to homeboy Orson Welles. Gluttony is not a secret vice. Like. Yeah.
Damn straight.
It's hard to keep it a secret.
Own it.
We talked on our Transformers episode about the sad irony of Orson Welles' last role being a planet.
We never did. No, we're gonna have to go back. We're gonna have to go back to the old format.
I love that movie so much. That's another one I had on Betamax VHS as a kid.
I believe it.
Except it was ripped directly off of the television, and I think we were missing one of the 5 episodes.
Oh no!
So I'm just missing a 5th of the film.
No big deal.
Jesus Christ!
Your brother wasn't home to hit record on that episode.
I bet that movie's
literally
in 4K.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
I have that on DVD too. Don't worry about it.
1986.
Oh God.
4K.
I'm special.
It
No,
is
that's-
$24.96. You can get it delivered tomorrow on Amazon. Transformers the movie in fucking 4K. There's
That's-
a fucking steelbook. There's a steelbook.
That exists?
There's a steelbook.
They made that?
Hope is hitting purchase on that right
It
now.
is cheaper than the regular version of the movie.
It's
in
$17.99.
4K. Buy now. God damn it, it's got Rodimus fucking Prime on the cover with a fucking cube allspark of leader shit. I don't give a fuck.
Lord help us all. I bought Howard the Duck
order
on
placed.
4K Bex.
Delivery
so-
Wednesday. I'm going to put the phone down because I'm clearly a danger to myself.
And honestly, our entire audience at this point.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. That makes me so mad. You can't get the fucking Man with No Name trilogy on 4K, but Transformers the movie is covered. You assholes crying at Optimus Prime.
But Hope, you see, that film is not cinematically insignificant, as it is the final film role of cinematic legend Orson Welles.
That is true. And also, you know, you've got the touch. You've got the power.
I hate
More bangers that have no right.
everyone. I just
You should have talked to Tucker about a little more about Transformers the movie, or as I told him earlier, that movie is his personal 9/11, and he agreed.
I want to
Okay.
know what the context of that is, but I'll listen to the episode.
If you listen to the episode, you will understand the context of that.
it's
yeah.
I will. Oh my god, that's funny.
Well, I'm not sure. I just had a 9/11. I certainly had a minor scuffle in the Gulf War just there. So, Christ.
It's not really a war so much as a conflict, really.
God.
What are we talking about? Oh,
Damn
fuck,
it.
Chipmunks, right.
Fucking
Chipmunks.
chipmunks.
Oh my god. All right. So now let's get to the first song.
This is your Dune. Congratulations. Welcome to the club. How does it feel?
Yeah, except when you're doing Dune, you don't have you sitting next to you.
I mean, they've got a point there. Hope they have a point.
I apologize, Stephen.
No,
Oh, we're
God, I love you
ridiculous.
guys so much. I love you guys so much.
Christ in heaven.
Okay,
Ugh.
so we get our first horribly racist stereotype when the boys fly
First.
their...
To be clear, they just said first. There are more. There are so
I'm not even
many
including Klaus and Claudia
more.
as bad racial stereotypes.
Yeah, it's all I have to offer as far as an opinion on that is kind of vague stutters.
So we get our first
Nope,
bad
correct.
racial stereotype when the boys fly into Mexico City, and
God.
we get really terrible representations of Mexican peoples.
I watched this 2
uh,
days ago and I'd already blocked this out of my memory.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's correct.
And it all just came flooding back. God.
We get a really bad racist cover of the Chipmunks doing a medley of two songs.
Mm-hmm.
One called Ay 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 and the other called Cuanto Me Gusto, I think.
Quantum Me Gusto, yeah. Quantum
Yeah,
Me Gusto,
and it's bad. It's bad.
The architecture is made out of sombreros.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
a taco
It hurts.
a taco restaurant that is probably a front considering what they are doing there.
Yes.
Um,
And of course Theodore attempts to order every
Tacos.
single Mexican entree that exists in the world because again, his character consists of food.
And
That
his
is-
entire plot throughout the entire film is just food being taken away from
You
him.
know what?
Yes.
I'm gonna step to the defense of Theodore and say that he is on his own personal eat, pray, love,
That's fair.
and he keeps getting the eat taken away from him.
He's also like a vegetarian, and it's not like his requests are super outlandish most of the time.
He
No.
has found his bliss. Chase it.
No, and look, I am all for that, yes, but it sucks because the fat character is always the one who's reduced to
Agreed.
that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I have
And
I
this
literally
is-
had this discussion with an author about one of my favorite books once, and I was like, why is the fat character only food based? And his response was, that character's actually based on my mom, and she shows her love by feeding everybody. And I was like, I will accept that this one time.
That is my mom, but my mom is also plant-based and has like really turned her health around. So she feeds everybody, but like she only eats like 5 things. That's not true. My mom actually eats all sorts of like really great vegan, vegetarian food, but like that is how my mother shows her love, is by feeding. That is 100%.
It's not 5 things. That's ridiculous. It's 7.
No, it's more like 56. My mom is like my mom is the expert on finding like every permutation of every, like my mom has had more kinds of hummus than you or I have ever heard of.
I believe it. That's great.
Terrifying.
I
love my mother. She is an amazing person.
Oh man. And even like the one time he almost gets a plate of food, it's couscous.
But my couscous,
I love that.
Is one of my favorite lines of dialogue ever.
But my couscous.
It's so sad. That's the Oscar clip for this movie.
No, because this movie was not even considered for Oscars.
So much emotion,
rightly so.
Into that line.
I mean, considering that Brave Little Toaster was your other option, that's obviously the Oscar winner.
Yeah, the other option this year was TV movie Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers. So, God. But that was made for TV. So,
it doesn't get that right.
Doesn't count. Maybe up for Emmys.
So we get we get horribly racist Mexican stereotypes, and then it turns out the butler of Klaus and Claudia is like listening in on their phone calls, and they have a nemesis whose henchmen are chasing the kids.
Right.
This is where it gets really weird.
It's so convoluted. And then when you find out who his contact is, it becomes even more convoluted, because the way he's styled, you would think
he's another shady like bad guy.
He's Vito Corleone.
Yeah,
he's
and then
Marlon
the bait and
Brando in
switch
The Godfather.
turns out that he's a detective for Interpol. And what I'm thinking is, why are these 2 henchmen attacking the kids when they could very easily like approach them as government agents?
Because
and
Bex,
say,
then
hey,
there wouldn't
I
be
think
a
you're
movie.
in danger.
Then this would just be an episode of the TV show and not a feature-length film released in theaters nationwide.
That's a fair point. But like that's the most ridiculous thing, is that these 2 government agents would be chasing these children aggressively around the world and not like just trying to take them into custody because they are children unaccompanied.
Yeah, 2 groups of unaccompanied minors
being trafficked.
and trafficking. They are both being trafficked and trafficking.
Yeah. Like it's nuts.
That's
what a tangled web this movie attempts to weave.
Who watches The Watchmen, indeed.
And then we get this great underwater sequence where the girls, it's absolutely beautiful. The animation is gorgeous. The girls go scuba diving to retrieve one of their dolls and get attacked by a shark.
Yep.
And Brittany literally gets like almost eaten.
Yep. She is in the jaws of the shark.
And her sisters have to save her.
Yep.
And they never say, "Smile, you son of a bitch."
Well, they don't say anything.
It's
actually
a
fully it's a fully nonverbal sequence. It's entirely just orchestral
and body language. Yeah.
It's really beautifully done. Like
prelude for Little Mermaid, really.
Yeah. A lot of this movie, it has a lot of, and I guess it makes sense if it was the same animators who went on to do all the Disney Renaissance stuff. Like a lot of the stuff in here is weirdly noticed and present later on in the Disney Renaissance films.
Right.
It still blows my mind that you just told me that Glenn Keane did this film.
Look, if that is the one thing I can contribute to your vast recesses of knowledge on this film, I am happy to do so.
I have a couple of friends who went into professional animation, and like I only know of Glenn Keane because my one friend has been obsessed with him since we were 10.
I mean, you know what? Same. I was a huge animation kid, and Glenn Keane was like the name I knew. I will not tell you why Glenn Keane was the name I knew, but he was the name I knew. Actually, that's not true. Glenn Keane and Andreas Deja were the 2 names I knew.
That's also a very good name.
Now I have to tell you how I know Glenn Keane. So Glenn Keane was in my church growing up. They would have these little like free magazines, and apparently Glenn Keane was a Christian who did an interview with one of these magazines.
Oh, that's cute.
And I picked it up because it had a Disney character on it. So I picked it up and brought it home and read all about Glenn Keane's profession of faith and how he uses his faith every day as a Disney animator or something. I don't know. But
interesting, considering the other name you listed was Andreas Deja.
Correct.
who is the guy who was the gay animator who animated most of the Disney villains and queer coded them by
Queer coded
accident.
all of them.
Yeah.
Accident, sure, yeah.
Well, representation coming from inside the house. Like, I don't know.
Yes. The representation is coming from inside the
house.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my
yeah,
God.
and he also Deja was also the animator. I think he did Belle in Beauty and the Beast too. Like
that would make sense. Yeah, I know he did Jafar. I know he did Ursula.
He did Scar.
Yeah, he's the guy. He was the other side of making Disney a little gay in the early '90s, because the other side of that was obviously Ashman.
I was going to say the Ashman Deja difecta is just chef's kiss, no notes.
Aces.
I'm learning so many things this episode. This is great for me.
Oh, you didn't know that I knew the queer Disney history?
No, I knew that. I like these subjects to come up organically in conversation.
There's a great YouTube creator that I follow called Matt Baum, and he does like TV and film, queer TV and film history. He's an incredible resource for this, but he does a whole video on Disney queer coding.
Well,
like
I'm
the queer
gonna look
coding
him
of
up.
Disney villains.
Yep,
Do it.
Gonna look that up right now. What is that name one more time?
Matt Baum.
I'll type it in the chat. Matt Baum. Baume.
Okay.
Oh, there's an E at the end. My bad.
Yeah, there's an E.
Yeah. Oh man. So speaking of queer, the fact that the villains in this are siblings is a weird take. I have no idea why adult siblings would choose to behave in the way that these two behave.
But that's kind of a fucked up dynamic. Like it's very similar, and this is going to sound really fucked up as soon as I say it, but bear with me. It's very similar to the dynamic in Crimson Peak.
Okay.
But that's also very much a dynamic that carries on through a lot of like gothic storytelling.
That's fair.
And of course, those are two incestuous siblings, but you know, the idea that they're these two siblings that live with each other, two siblings of opposite gender that live with each other well into adulthood, either they're both queer or there's something else going on.
Yeah.
Is kind of the
well, and in this case, you know, they're running an international diamond smuggling ring. So they're in business.
But who's to say both can't be true?
That's fair.
I mean, look, I could run a business with someone. It doesn't mean I have to live with them, right?
That's very true. That is very true. Yeah. Okay, so where were we? So
but then again, you really can't have it all sometimes. Fuck, why did I just say that? God, what is wrong with me? I hate myself, and
that was fucked up, Steven.
And don't blame you for hating me.
No, you're good. You're great. We love you. So anyway, we get into one of the banging original songs in the next montage sequence where it's literally just them traveling around the world.
It's a montage. It's great.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous. And for the most part, we don't get any racist images.
For the most part.
In this particular montage.
Right.
It's mostly just vistas and like the kids doing cute shit.
Which is legit. The vistas are the best part. The backgrounds in this movie are
absolutely beautiful. There are multiple shots where it's just gorgeous, and you've got this beautiful orchestral overlay, and the kids are singing this great original song called
We're Off to See the World.
Yes, We're Off to See the World. Which gets stuck in my head all the time. I love it.
Playlist, and I hate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Just how beautiful this movie is kind of my problem with it, because it's like this again, talking about just like animation in the 80s, because Disney was so out of it, really.
They were fucking Xeroxing shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But like you can see in this movie, like the character animation is just excellently well done in the bigger sequences of the movie. The expressions on all of the characters, the chipmunks, especially, and the chipettes, all of the chip people. Chip kids, is that what they're called?
I mean, that's what I call them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Fair enough. Just call
all
them
of
kids.
the chip kids,
the chip children, the chiprin,
the
chippins,
the younglings. All of the younglings have really just gorgeous, fluid animation to them, and
even certain set piece sequences, like the initial, lift off for the race where they're crashing all over the place.
Oh yeah,
Simon's not actually in the basket. Like, it's really beautifully done.
And you can also see, like, in the edges of some of them, when there's like a lot of elements on the screen, you can see the shadows behind the cells of the characters casting the shadow on the painted background images because they've stacked so many of these painted cells on top of one another.
Pretty.
If I'm remembering correctly, Little Mermaid is the last Disney movie to do that, and after that, they're scanning everything digitally.
Mm-hmm.
So I really missed that texture to the animation. I mean, speaking of Scooby-Doo, you see that all the time when like Fred's neck changes color because they've put too many layers of fucking Shaggy 3 frames over on top of it. So yeah, I love how this movie is textured and animated, and that just it goes up against all of the problematic shit in this movie, which is
it's
Legion.
A weird balance.
And that's what makes this movie so wildly infuriating. It is such a I can't believe I'm about to make this comparison.
Oh, do it.
Birth of a Nation. Like,
what?
You have this film.
Please elaborate.
You have this film that is the most disgustingly racist piece of shit ever committed to film. But then it is also incredibly cinematically significant because of what it brings to the table with regard to establishing shots and the way the narrative is constructed through the editing. And like, there are things that movie does that had never been done in cinema before. And so on that level, it is very groundbreaking. But on the other hand, it's a movie about the fucking Klan.
Yeah. Jesus. That's wild. And you would and you think that that's a decent comparison to this just because there are
maybe Gone with the Wind is closer. Maybe Gone with the Wind.
Oh, that one feels a little safer.
Because it's not like because it's not like the racism is integral to the plot. It's more just, poor framing devices.
Sure.
And like poorly executed caricatures.
Every 15 minutes in this movie, you get this gorgeous animated bravura sequence, and every half hour in Gone with the Wind, you get a title card coming up saying, "Hey, General Sherman wrecked more shit upon the Confederacy. Let's go, team!"
Right?
So I guess it amounts to about the same equivalency. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good comparison right there.
Okay, forget I said the first thing. Let's focus only on the second thing. God, I'm gonna get canceled this episode. This is what happens when my co-hosts aren't here. Whoops. Here's the thing, though.
Whoops.
Tucker would probably also make the Birth of a Nation comparison.
Tucker was not okay with this movie, which is
he didn't like it.
It's completely and totally fair.
And you know what? That is fine. Look, there's a lot to dislike about this movie.
Yeah, there is.
We're talking about all of it. We're not going to pretend like it's not there.
God in heaven, we can't.
No. I mean, the next sequence that we get to is the best sequence in the film. The Girls of Rock and Roll, which is this badass original rock duet between the Chipettes and the Chipmunks that takes place in like Rome.
Athens.
It's directly in Athens,
in Greece, and we get these excellent, portrayals of the Parthenon and like
they're cartoonified versions, I believe, but
and it's
but they look good. They look
beautifully
so good.
done. And the only actual like locals that get depicted are like 3 priests.
Orthodox.
Orthodox priests.
Right. Which, have that very distinct Orthodox look, which rad as hell. I love the Orthodox look.
But I think that there's a difference between just portraying characters of a specific like culture and visual style, and specifically racist characters.
Correct.
So that one I think was less bad. Because it's just one quick shot and it's not prolonged and it's not
that is more representational than the rest of what this movie is, really,
than a lot of the other stuff.
Most of the other stuff, let's be honest.
It's like good. It's 2 scenes specifically that stick in 3 scenes specifically that stick in my mind. But it's
one
good.
Of those is like the major end, like the major penultimate set piece. Yeah,
2 of them are the second half of the movie. Leading up to the finale sequence.
We've mentioned both of them already. So
so we get the Girls of Rock and Roll sequence, which is fucking spectacular.
It's great.
It's an original song written for the film. It's really well done. It's a lot of fun. And if you watch any sequence of this movie, check this one out.
Yeah.
Legitimately, just watch that. Do not bother with the rest of the movie. Just watch that.
That and the Off to See the World. Those are the only two worth watching.
Okay.
I
will concede Off to See the World.
I would also recommend looking up somebody on YouTube put it together, but they slowed down the vocals of the Girls of Rock and Roll to be
human
the real
levels?
human voices.
Yeah.
And that version is weird. I recommend if you're going to jam out to one, do the one directly from the movie with the high-pitched voices, because the Chipettes in their, unedited tones sound like real human beings, and it's very good. But because the Chipmunks are cranked up even harder in the mix, they sound like the kids from South Park, and it's upsetting. It's very upsetting.
It's very nasal.
It's
because you have to distinguish them from one another somehow. Yeah. Because when everybody's voice is squeaky, it'll just sound like this giant like squeaky wheel, like the whole movie.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, we get this excellent stadium rock number with Girls of Rock and Roll, and then the movie gets bad. And then the movie just gets bad.
And then it becomes unforgivable.
Yeah,
honestly.
It gets atrocious at that point, because from Girls of Rock and Roll we move into the really, really horrible shit, which is where the kids start getting victimized by
the aforementioned trafficking.
Yeah.
The
kids start getting trafficked, and so basically the girls fly to Cairo, they get captured, they get trafficked, they get dressed up like Jasmine. It's bad. It's very bad.
But on the bright side, there's a baby penguin.
Which is also animal trafficking.
Right.
So because it's this wee little penguin that was stolen from the wild.
They're going to be convicted of carrying a Frank Welker across the border.
And so
just, guys, let's leave Frank Welker where he is. He's fine. He's doing great. We love Frank Welker. Let's just leave him where he is. We don't need to take him across any borders.
Let him be. The man's done a lot of work. Let him rest.
You know what? If he wants to travel across the border, let that be his decision. Okay. Let's not you and I try to make that decision for him, please.
Exactly. No, we don't need to take Frank Welker anywhere in a hot air balloon.
Or any other means of conveyance.
He will go when he is called.
Correct.
Yes.
Where he is needed, Frank Welker will be there.
Oh man, great, fantastic, wonderful aces. Anyway, so we get the
We're
horrible.
Having a great time.
So we get the really awful, the kids being trafficked, the whole Arabian prince voiced by Nancy Cartwright, who is literally like portrayed as a child king, who is just like, no, I lay claim to these girls. They are my property now. Put them in a side room until I can add them to my harem as an adult, which is like,
I will marry the pretty one, not the nerdy or fat one.
Yeah. But she's also the one who's fighting the hardest, which scares the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's the one who's yelling and screaming and kicking to be released.
Yep. Accurate.
Scares the living shit out of me.
Gross.
Yeah, no, not great. It's weird because this has always been a bit of a guilty pleasure for me, but like having the opportunity to just actually analyze it, it's just gross.
It is.
And like, I don't know, this has always been a comfort movie. I will probably continue to at least watch the first half of it as a comfort movie. And maybe just fast forward right to the finale when it gets entertaining again.
Right.
Because while the girls are being trafficked, the boys are being captured by natives in one of the worst portrayals, actually probably the worst portrayal in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Where the natives are just portrayed in really horribly racist ways, and that like
Alvin is even talking to them in like the horribly stilted, stereotypical Native American dialect that we attributed to that group of people for a regrettably long time.
And that was very common in media throughout, I want to say, like the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that by the 80s it had reduced a bit, but I guess not.
Nope.
Sure hadn't.
Yeah, it was bad. It's bad. It's bad.
Really does, yeah.
So we get this
we just stopped making Native Americans mascots like 5 years ago.
Actually, we haven't even, because the high school that we graduated from more than a decade ago still has said racist mascot with the racial slur as the name.
Oh.
It's a
It's an
constant,
ongoing controversy, and like the students and the community have been fighting it forever, and the school board just will not relent.
Like we were writing articles about it in 2002, the high school newspaper. So it's been
20 years of like, hey, maybe this is a bad idea, and they still haven't
like
gotten the message.
Well, I guess the professional sports, let me say, the professional sports have just started within the last 5 years. As we all know, it takes small-minded, small-town people a lot longer to acquiesce to stuff like that.
You say that, but I went to an Atlanta Braves game like 2 summers ago.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah. And the tomahawk shop was still a thing, and I was disgusted.
It's all fucked.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the motto. It's all fucked.
And it's infuriatingly like more invasive than you even really think about.
It really is. It's disturbingly, because like this is the shit that I grew up on. I have these ingrained biases that I need to examine and educate myself out of, and need to constantly work to do that, because this is the media that we were exposed to our whole lives, and we picked up stuff from that is problematic and toxic, and that we really need to examine.
And and the reason we were exposed to it is because our parents weren't examining it. They were just, well, this is what I grew up on, so this is what. And so many parents are doing the same things and realizing, oh fuck, this is fucked. Yeah. And you know what? Those are the conversations. Those are the things we should be realizing, honestly.
And that's one of the things I love about our generation as parents, is we are examining these things and we're having these conversations. And like, I appreciate the fact that Disney Plus now has a warning about, this was made in a time when, and these things are unacceptable now.
HBO Max, they are now and have always been unacceptable. Like HBO Max for the Looney Tunes cartoons does that as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the ones that hurt me the most are the ones that came on before Muppet Show reruns on Disney Plus. Like those are the ones that hurt my Muppet loving heart. But I watch those episodes and I'm like, fuck, yeah, that's a problem.
And then the funny thing is that you go back and sometimes, depending, it wasn't as problematic as you think it was. Like Bugs Bunny's drag looks, the fact that Bugs Bunny was portrayed, it was portrayed for laughs, but Bugs wasn't playing it for laughs. Bugs was perfectly comfortable wearing a dress and heels.
Bugs is one of my favorites. I have had multiple people at work come up to me and be like, hey, I need to ask you, is Bugs Bunny offensive? No. Bugs is an icon.
Bugs is a trans icon.
Bugs. You heard it here first, folks. Maybe not first, but you heard it here most recently.
This is consensus. Bugs Bunny is a queer icon.
One of the few things that I can comment on safely, like in the ongoing culture war. Yes.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Yeah, happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Yesterday was Chicago's Pride Day. So everybody was out in full force. Like it was a wild time. Yeah.
Philly got ours out of the way early.
Yeah, we were beginning of the month. I think Milwaukee, I saw is doing it this weekend too. So
right on.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. We in the Midwest like to push things to the last minute if we can.
It's so for sure. I love, oh man, there's so much. But so we get into the really racist portrayals, and then we get a really awful rendition of Wooly Bully, which is the other cover in this movie.
Which was, again, one of the 2 memories of this movie that I had. Ugh. To be fair, I did not remember the racist shit. I just remembered the set piece of them on the burning
the sacrifice feat.
Yeah, like the little sacrificial dais getting burned and dropped on the crocodiles. Like that was what I remembered.
Yeah, because it's terrifying and traumatic.
Right, but they're also singing this.
Characters come very close to death, but they're singing a fun song.
They're singing a very fun song, and that makes it adventurous instead of horrifying.
Yeah. And we're gonna play it for laughs, and there's a lot of comedic gags in that particular scene that also come off really, really offensive nowadays because of the characters and the caricatures being portrayed, and it's bad. Oh man. So at that point, when the boys are being sacrificed, the girls show up and save them because they, on a field trip to Antarctica to return a baby penguin, have finally figured out the plot of the movie, in that the toys that they are trafficking are actually packed with cash and gems.
Not that you would feel the roughness of the diamonds or the crinkliness of the cash.
You get one gag when Theodore and Jeanette are handed the trunks at the beginning of the race that they're really heavy. Only gag we get.
Yep.
And somehow they haven't figured out until now what the heck they're doing.
Which,
Like,
again,
this is a very well weighted.
Yeah.
Is this a proto Beanie Baby?
Or like,
What-
or just like a weighted stuffed animal, because they make those now.
They do, yeah.
But like, yeah, no, it's absolutely nuts. So the girls figure out the plot, and after another montage with another song while they travel to Antarctica. Very, very sweet little ballad called My Mother. And then, yeah, they have to go save the boys. And then we get into the finale, in which the kids just kind of scrape home in a one barely functional air balloon.
Yeah.
And then we get this ridiculous chase through an airport.
It is ridiculous. Ridiculous is the word.
To yet another banger. This is also a montage laid out over an original, which is, I think, sung by only the Chipettes. It's called Diamond Dolls, and it is surprisingly good.
I have noticed a
actually is.
recurring theme in the Chipmunk movies that you have shown me, is that the Chipettes always have the better numbers. Or if it's a shared number, they get the front. They're the front loaded part of the song.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It's such a good song. It is the song of the movie. That and The Girls of Rock and Roll. Those are the songs in the movie. But Diamond Dolls is so good. Even though they play it at the end of the movie, they also play it over the closing
credits. Yeah. It is. It's really good. And it's this great chase where the kids are still in their ridiculous final costumes. Of the boys are in loincloths and the girls are still in the Jasmine costumes. So it's bad.
It's real bad.
Bad. And
I feel like the Chipmunks, because of what they typically wear, they should not have torsos. You know what I mean?
Oh, this is best illustrated in Girls of Rock and Roll.
It's so funky. Yeah, because in the Girls of Rock and Roll, they can be so violently squashy, stretchy, rubber bandy.
Yeah.
And then they have like humanoid bodies under there. And it's like, no.
See, that's the thing. The boys, because they have those big oversized tunics, are just kind of squashy, stretchy, like...
Yeah.
Just barely. And then the girls are very, very humanoid because they are designed with those 80s fashions.
I think I would be more on board with the creation of the Chipettes if they were also weird amorphous blobs wearing long t-shirts. You know what I mean?
I would be okay with that too, because it would make them more like children.
That would be so fucking funny too.
I mean, the Chipmunks are basically shirt tails.
Yeah.
With longer shirts.
Yeah.
Remember shirt tails?
I don't think I do, actually. That might have been before my time.
That's like an 80s deep cut. Tails is spelled, of course, like the story, but yeah.
I don't think I know this one. Shirt tails?
Yeah. There are these various animals with like different messages on their shirts.
Oh,
they're adorable.
Huh, okay.
Yeah. That's like an early 80s. That's an early 80s. They were like...
They also look like they're designed more for preschoolers. Like, they look like they're designed for very small children.
Right.
And I only say that as with the context of having worked as a preschool teacher.
Sure.
Oh yeah, there it is, 1983. Okay.
Yeah, I was barely around. I have only the vaguest of recollections of shirt tails. But...
You're the same age as my brother.
And also the Get Along Gang.
References.
Also the Get Along Gang. If you don't know,
I do remember.
Yeah, the Get Along Gang, another one for very, very young children that I remember from my early youth. I'm kind of enjoying watching Hope Google all of these in real time and getting a sense for them.
Oh no, I'm gonna drop the fucking Avengers Endgame of fucking 1980s cartoons at the end of this episode. So
I'm pretty sure I tweeted that out when everyone was doing the most ambitious crossover thing around Infinity War. I'm pretty sure I dropped that poster.
You probably did. I don't know if you're familiar, Bex, but it's gonna be good.
Well, we're getting towards the end because we've gotten to the end of the movie.
We have.
Yeah.
Which is where Klaus and Claudia are finally arrested, thanks to Miss Miller's terrible driving.
Yes.
As she's on her way to the airport to pick
terrible singer.
And
the
also
only song
so gullible that she completely relinquishes care for these children.
The only songs she knows are songs written by Ross Bogdasarian Sr.
Yeah, ones that they already had the rights to.
She sings Witch Doctor and Come Into My House.
Which I don't think was written by Bagdasarian. Wasn't that a really famous song that was covered by Eartha Kitt?
It may have been covered by Eartha Kitt, but I am pretty sure it was written by Bogdasarian because they had the rights to it, which is the only reason she was singing it.
Okay.
That's amazing if the Eartha Kitt cover is what has kept the Chipmunks afloat since then. Like, that would be amazing.
I doubt it. The Chipmunks make a lot of money.
Come On to
Hence-
My House is a song performed by Rosemary Clooney and originally
That's it.
released in 1951. It was written by Ross Bogdasarian and his cousin, Armenian-American Pulitzer Prize-winning author William Saroyan, while driving
Whoa.
across New Mexico in the summer of 1939. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Okay, is okay.
I knew I forgot that it was Rosemary Clooney, but yeah.
Are the Bogdasarians the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the animation world? Is that what's
Maybe.
going on?
That's a
Like
possibility.
they're living this other weird ass wild alternate storyline? Is that what's happening?
Probably.
So, well, one of the interesting things is that there are only this is the only animated cinematic Alvin and the Chipmunks movie. All the other animated Alvin and the Chipmunks movies were either direct to video or TV releases.
Right.
And then it's this and the fucking live action series.
Insane.
The 2007 to present live action series.
Jason Lee becomes the first person to play Dave Seville, whose last name is not Bogdasarian.
It's not Bogdasarian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Congratulations.
And he hated every second of it, and he was so mad that his contract was for as many movies as it was because he didn't think that more than one movie would be successful. He was so mad about having to continue to do the series.
No, that's
he also was
not...
the voice of Underdog in the crappy Underdog movie that we'll probably have to cover on this podcast one day.
Oh, wow.
I don't think that was Jason Lee, was it? Hang
yeah,
on.
It absolutely is.
It was Jason Lee?
Yeah.
I thought it was the other guy on the Chipmunks.
No.
It's
David Cross was
possible.
in Alvin and the Chipmunks, but Jason Lee was Dave Seville.
Yeah.
Huh, okay. Wow, I've been getting a different story in my head for years. That's nice.
Yeah,
okay,
and he was
good.
so disgusted with having to do multiple films.
Yeah. And who blames him? Who here blames him? Oh, no one? Okay, good.
Literally nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like everything else was all the TV and music. But as far as films go, it's this and the new stuff.
Yeah.
And the Chipmunk song, which is on every Christmas compilation forever.
I mean, let's be honest. They would be millionaires if that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that was it, they would still be millionaires.
That and Witch Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
100%.
no, they decided to create characters and animated features and milk it for as long as they could. Although I did see that I think in 2021, the property was placed up for sale. They actually have finally reached the point where they are ready to retire and they are ready to sell the rights.
What's
to
it
the
going
Chipmunks.
for? Is it in our budget?
It is absolutely not in our budget. I think it was Paramount was maybe who I saw that was interested,
man.
but this was 2 years ago and nothing has been solidified. So, yeah, that was like at the very bottom of the Wikipedia page, which surprised the shit out of me.
That is a travesty, can I just say?
On November 2nd, 2021, it was announced that the company and the Chipmunks franchise was being put up for sale for $300 million. Paramount Global, formerly Viacom CBS, was reported to be an interested buyer, but nothing...
I can't imagine none of the kids are interested in that legacy. Like,
right? Like at that point.
I mean, it's literally been your entire life. And like these characters that are not remotely popular, although there was a new TV show that they redesigned them again in 2015
for the new release for the new TV show.
The new
running.
redesign. Yeah, it's still going. The new redesign is fucking cursed.
I believe it.
I
don't need to see it.
I'm
good.
learning so much this episode.
Oh no. Oh no. Not okay. Thank you for that, Nightmare Fuel.
Oh, it's worse because the first fucking poster is this ascent of man evolution thing.
They've officially become too anthropomorphic.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to point out though that at the bottom of the poster, the word Bogdasarian is in a great big font with a
Alvin hat on top of the A. Yeah, that's their logo.
I hate everything. Look at them.
That is their logo.
They're
no, I don't want to look at them. They're terrifying.
Monsters.
Oh no, this was the rabbit hole I went down last night.
Ugh.
Yikes. Well, no, it's interesting because like I have the DVD that has the double. I recently got it off Amazon. Thank you, Amazon. That has the double release of Meet Frankenstein and Meet the Wolfman, and there's a significant difference between the quality of animation between the two films. Frankenstein came first. It is worse story, badly pulled off, and you can immediately tell that the quality of animation is worse because for once the Chipmunks don't have blue eyes. Their eyes are brown. Right?
Like I hope someone got fired for that blunder.
Immediately, it's like, you just didn't even put the effort in to actually doing this the right way.
Right.
And then you get to Wolfman, and it's suddenly a good story that actually feels like a Universal monster movie. And they
the
look
Wolfman was
correct
always my
again.
favorite of those monsters, so I'm glad to see that they did at least that part right.
If
So.
you can find it anywhere, you can't. But if you can find it anywhere, it's great.
All right.
I've looked
Touche.
for years, but if you can pirate it somewhere, that's probably your only option.
I mean,
God
you know,
in heaven.
I'm sure Hope can help me out there if she were
Oh
so
no,
inclined.
no. We have there are ways that a Jedi wouldn't teach you.
So Hope, drop a mind fuck on us.
All right. So I mean,
as we head toward the end.
I kind of sort of
please.
lied at the beginning of the episode when, like, I didn't really have too much exposure to the Chipmunks, because the Chipmunks kind of almost headline something that unfortunately greatly and violently impacted the next 20 odd years of my life. And it's called Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue, a TV movie that debuted on April 21st. 1990. It is a half-hour Saturday morning program that was simulcast on all major American news networks all at once, and it is all about various cartoon characters coming together to teach kids that drugs are bad.
And you know who voices the smoke drug monster?
You say it, please. Say
Academy Award winner George C. motherfucking Scott.
What?
General Patton himself.
It's
yes.
Truly, the cast list alone for this movie is what I'm going to tell you about, because I do think we should cover it for an episode of our podcast.
That
you
sounds
absolutely should.
Amazing.
Can I please come along for that one?
Please
yes,
do.
Yes. I'm suggesting it for April 20th of next year.
Sounds great.
But yes. Okay, so the cast, I'm just going to read you some highlights here, going in descending order from credit order. Ross Bagdasarian Jr., Jeff Bergman as Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck. You've got Jim Cummings as Tigger and Winnie the Pooh. Let's see. This one's my favorite, personally. Danny Goldman as Brainy Smurf. Danny Goldman, not somebody that you might know, but if you see his picture, he's the nerd that corrects in fucking Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Like, there's Janice Carmen as Theodore. It's Lorenzo Music as Garfield.
George C. Scott.
There's Frank Welker, Barbara Bush, George Bush, and Paul Fusco as Alf. This movie ruined my... This movie kept me away from weed for years, and I get to directly blame the Chipmunks because fucking Theodore has the fucking choice quote in the fucking movie. Let me see if I can find it and pull it up. Yes. Marijuana, an unlawful substance used to produce artificial highs.
Artificial, my ass.
That is the line that Theodore speaks in the show. And
Tell him, Bex.
And this movie, like this and the fucking goddamn Dare program got me so off and away from drugs. I couldn't get my personal shit together until I was 30 fucking 2, because that's how long
you went on a Dare rabbit hole last night. I was getting those texts.
There's an entire section in the Dare Wikipedia article about studies proving effectiveness, and it is enlightening.
One of them done by the University of my great home state of Indiana.
So that was my chief exposure to the Chipmunks as a small child.
Interesting.
So, there we go. There we go. April
that was
21st, 1990. Fuck you, Reagan. Fuck you, Bushes. Fuck you, George C. Scott, for being so good as the villain, I guess.
I will tell you, Hope, that movie did not keep me off drugs. Jesus did that for me for a while. But what that movie did do for me was create an absolute love of cinematic shared universes. Because if I could see all of my favorite cartoons coexisting in one place, then anything is fucking possible.
Now, what does that fucking say for... Okay, so Jesus kept you away from drugs. Okay, Garfield kept me away from drugs. What does that say about me? I've done
Jim Davis is one of the lesser deities for you?
I've been high all goddamn day. And here we are.
If any cartoon character liked marijuana, it would be Garfield.
It would be Well, that's 100%. Why he was just a walk-on cameo. He had 8 seconds in the That's why, because he was getting
Right.
lit behind the fucking scenes.
Literally, Garfield is like the Snoop Dogg of animated characters.
I mean, he's got baggy eyes all the time. He is
Always
like
hungry.
always
wants a
hungry,
nap.
always
He wants to
tired.
just-
Yeah.
He's the most
He
mellow
can't even tell
motherfucker.
that the cable is out. Like, Garfield is a stoner.
I think, I mean, if there's one animated character that I know for sure is a stoner, it's Shaggy. If
Yes,
there's
no,
two
that's-
characters I know for sure, it's Shaggy and Garfield.
And Garfield.
And probably Scoob.
Well, I mean, Scoob's getting the contact high. Let's be
Minimum.
honest. At
Oh,
least.
man. There's that great image, and I forget which live-action Scooby-Doo movie it is, but it's the back of the van, and all you see is smoke.
I think it's the first one, and then they're cooking the pizza.
Yeah, and then it angles down, and it's a tiny little hot plate. Like, brilliant.
Perfect.
There's also the
I know what they did.
when he meets Isla Fisher on the plane, it's like, oh, what's your name? Mary Jane. That's like my favorite name. Like,
So
yeah,
good. So well
it's-
done. So correct.
right. And then Scoob, that atrocity that was Scoob. Another
I
attempt to
might have
kick
to
off
watch
a
Scoob
cinematic
just
shared
to-
universe.
Ruined it.
Ugh.
No, Scoob again.
Yeah.
Scoob is like, they're like these voice actors that have kind of been doing these characters for decades. And we just recast all of them. We're trying to recast Scooby-Doo. We can't. Who do we get? I don't know. How about the guy who's been doing
Scooby-Doo
Scooby-Doo
for-
since Don fucking Messick died?
Literally. Like, it's irritating the fact that, like, they were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna recast all these characters without any notice to the actors who have been playing these characters for years.
Correct. It's
Except
a shitty
we'll
move.
keep the one character that you literally cannot recast.
Correct. Because
like,
even the
obnoxious.
best celebrity impression of that voice is a terrible celebrity impression of that voice.
Literally. Like, that was...
Ugh.
Poor Matthew Lillard.
I agree. And Frank
for
Walker,
what it's worth,
frankly.
For what it's worth, I do appreciate watching almost any Scooby-Doo property with you. It's a lot of fun.
I love Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, it's
Hope,
great.
I am going to tell you one thing, though, that does make Scoob worth watching. I'm going to tell you the one and one only thing that makes Scoob worth watching. Scoob is a
Okay.
movie we will cover on this podcast one day.
Oh boy.
Captain Caveman, played by Tracy Morgan.
What?
What is that like?
It's
I might have to watch
probably
this.
exactly what you think
Wild.
it's like.
Yeah, okay.
Probably
Absolutely
exactly what you
wild.
think it's like.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
It is.
Interesting. That's
The Chipmunk Adventure came out in May 22nd of 1987.
it was
Uh,
a Memorial Day release.
That doesn't
Uh-huh.
surprise me. It was
Uh-huh.
a really dry year for family film.
Ugh.
It comes out the 22nd. It opens at number 6 to 2.6 million. It will go on to make 6.8 million domestic. I do not have international numbers for that movie.
That's more than I expected.
mm,
I'm so
but
excited
not
to hear
a
what
big
the
enough
box
hit.
office is for this.
not a big enough hit to. Do you want to try to guess the box office? Hope?
Absolutely not. I will fucking.
Okay.
87 was Predator. That's the one movie I can come to mind that was in the. It was in 1987. But no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And if I remember
Griffin movie.
correctly, My Little Toaster was like a November release. I think that
That
was
would make
a
sense.
holiday
Yeah.
release.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's definitely not in this box office. Number 1 is a sequel to one of the most popular films of 1984, starring a big name Hollywood comedian. It is Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh.
Tony Scott's Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Eddie Murphy.
And in second place, it is a character known predominantly from advertising. And the actor who would go on the actor would go on to play this character for so many more theatrical and direct to DVD and video films.
Are you going to say Ernest?
Ernest Goes to Camp, 1987. In
Ernest. I love
It is-
Ernest as a little
it
kid.
is new this
Shit.
week. It earns in its first week more than Chipmunk Adventure will make in its entire run. $6.17
That's
million
fair.
dollars.
That's so fair.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
In third place, the Michael J. Fox follow-up to Back to the Future, The Secret of My Success, which has been in the box office for, how many weeks now? 2 weeks and 7 weeks. I'm sorry. And it is so far made about $48.5 million. In fourth place, a little film down from number 1 the week before in its second week, on its way to its perhaps unfortunate reputation as one of the biggest box office bombs in movie history.
David Lynch's Dune.
A little movie called Ishtar.
Ooh, okay.
A movie called Ishtar. And then in fifth place, a movie that I saw for the first time last October, one that my partner grew up with and absolutely loved. A little movie down from 2 the week before in its second week. A little movie called The Gate.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
What if there was a gate? It's about it's about a group of children who open a portal to hell in their backyard.
Wow.
Okay, that's going on a list.
And it stars young Stephen Dorff.
That is the most like vague title for that movie.
The poster is fucking incredible though. It's like 2 hands reaching up out of the ground with like red glowing eyes. It honestly is really it's honestly kind of fun.
Interesting.
There's a passageway, a gate behind which the demons wait to take back what was once theirs. Pray it's not too late. Shit, I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, honestly. And then, of course, rounding out the top 10, we've got the Chipmunk Adventure opening at number 6. We've got Platoon at number 7. It has made over 129 million. I think one of the biggest films, if not the biggest film of 1987, would go on to win the Oscar as well. Lethal Weapon, the original Lethal Weapon in number 8. Blind Date in number 4. And in 10th place, a little film called Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, nice. Hey, speaking of badly handled representations of minority groups in media, Crocodile Dundee's has one of, again, it's similar to the Ace Ventura, I guess, but it's got one of my favorite jokes. You call that a knife? This is a knife. Yeah. And then he assaults a trans woman in a bar.
Yep. It sucks.
Yeah, it does.
It sucks. Yeah.
It sucks.
Our
hero.
I like the Simpsons version of that joke. That's not a knife. This is a knife. That's a spoon. I see you've never played Knifey Spoony before.
Okay, that is better.
Right? It's a much better joke. The tomatometer score on this one is a 75%.
That is higher than I expected.
Big same.
Now,
there is no Metascore, but the Letterboxd score is a 3.3
out of
5.
Out of 5.
Oh, actually,
yes,
that's
sorry,
not bad. So it's middling, essentially, is what we're slightly higher than middling.
I don't know if I've said it, but like I probably have because I talk a lot. But this movie has such interesting, like, a basic plot structure and hook. If you were to remake this movie starring, like,
not children,
people in their 20s opposing going around the world in some crazy madcap adventure directed by Guy Ritchie or some shit.
You know what? You've just described the plot of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Well, there you go, son of a bitch. There's now another movie that's got to go on the list.
So. This movie is kind of it's a Mad, 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 Mad World with fewer cameos and somehow a lot more racism for a movie that came out in the 60s.
63, there it is, yeah.
In fairness, that's not a race around the world. It's more a race across the country. If you've heard of the movie Rat Race was a remake of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Sorry. I have seen Rat Race.
3 hours, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking what?
Am I
worth every second.
That's insane.
Interesting.
Hope, just start reading the cast list for It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
I'm right there with you. Wow.
You can read them out loud.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
this is an audio medium. Yeah.
Audio.
Spencer Tracy, Milton Berle, Ethel Merman, Mickey Rooney, Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Dick Shawn, Phil Silvers, Terry Thomas, Jonathan Winters, Edie Adams, Dorothy Provin, Eddie Rochester Anderson, Jim Backus, Ben Blue, Joey Brown, Alan Carney, Chuck Chandler, Barry Chase. That's as deep as IMDb is going.
Yeah.
I was going to say, until you keep going, and then you'll see the Three Stooges and the Marxes.
Here we go. I wasn't in the full list.
Don Knotts.
Jesus Christ. Carl Reiner, there he is. Roy Roberts, the Three Stooges. I like how they're all built together. That's kind of nice.
Mhm.
Jimmy Durante. Oh, there they are. Larry Moe. Yeah, wow, they're just together there. Oh, wait.
It's
Joe.
Curly Joe Dorita at that point, right?
Okay,
Curly,
that's why I'm not
okay.
recognizing the name. He doesn't have curly in his. Yeah, Phil Arnold, Jack Benny. What? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a day, I guess.
I was gonna say yes, 3.5 hours. Jimmy Durante is like the guy who instigates the whole thing. Like he dies in the opening scene and
Jerry
starts the chase. But it's like it is an insane feat of storytelling. And honestly, from what I remember, it's been several years since I watched it, but from what I remember, it honestly is not as bad as you would expect a comedy from the 1960s to be. It actually is pretty solid.
All right.
It's got to be better
maybe
than
less
watching Marx
egregious
Brothers
than
do
this movie, if I
blackface.
remember correctly.
Maybe.
Maybe. But so those are the scores from across the internet. I turn now to you, my esteemed guests. How do you, on a, out of 5 stars, how many do you give to 1987's The Chipmunk Adventure?
For me, it's always going to be like a solid 3.5 to 4 stars because I just love it. After
That's
this,
fair.
It's definitely like there's some rust on it at this point, for sure. It's not aging well in
That'll
any
buff
way.
out.
But I don't know. It's near and dear to my heart and always will be.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's.
You're allowed to rate it low. That's fine.
No, I think I'm gonna rate it similar to. Yeah, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I think that's what I gave The Matrix Revolutions, because it's like it's one of those things where it's like, this is not good, but I'm enjoying it,
right?
Which is frustrating to me. Yeah, because again, the animation, it's just
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
It is.
The Girls of Rock and Roll sequence alone.
That is why I cannot throw this movie completely out the window.
Yeah.
Because look, after spending the last 3 weeks watching Transformers the movie, My Little Pony the movie, and G.I. Joe the movie, this thing was visually speaking, a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Glenn Keane will do that.
Yeah, that is his gift. I also gave it a 3.
Hey, all right.
Again, it's the animation. It looks beautiful. It really does. Maybe you can't understand all the words. Maybe subtitles were created for a reason. Maybe you should probably try to find this on DVD and not watch a bad rip on YouTube.
Not only that, but I actually also own it on YouTube. I own it from like Google Play.
Okay.
And
before it was made unavailable.
Yeah, from several years ago. But even that version, subtitles when they're speaking, it literally just says singing.
Yes.
In the subtitles, it doesn't give you the subtitles of the songs. The DVD is the only place I've seen that. So It is difficult, no matter where you find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And when I was watching the rip, it was either music, singing, or foreign. Anything they don't understand, they just attribute to foreign.
Yeah, that was bad.
It's
very bad.
I hate that so much.
It is pretty awful.
You can get on eBay, the Chipmunk Adventure Blu-ray and DVD combo pack rare for $175.
I think I'm going to pass, but thank you.
The DVD is 20 to 40.
A little more reasonable, but I'm not going to pay that much for a dead format.
No, just look up the 4 good sequences on YouTube and you're good.
Exactly. That's and we've told you what they are. So if you've been listening, if you've made it to this point, congratulations.
Girls of Rock and Roll, Diamond Dolls, Off to See the World. That's all you need.
That's all you need. Hope, I think this now clocks in as the shortest episode you've ever been on.
Oh, God, whatever shall I do? I guess I'm going to have to introduce something that an upcoming show in which I do nothing but info dump constantly. If we're moving into that segment of the show.
We absolutely are. Yes.
Okay, cool.
You drop your other project and I'll drop
we'll do the thing in a minute. But you told me this is dropping on the 29th?
It is.
Available tomorrow is going to be The Matrix Reclamations. I have started a new show with my good friend Ella Cesare. of the Mystery Shack Look Back podcast. You may know her from there. But it turns out we're both local Philly gals that really fucking love the Matrix movies. So we are launching it's going to be fairly irregular. I'm going to try and aim for one a month, but dropping on the 30th will be the beginning of the Matrix Reclamations, available at your finest podcast dispensaries. If you want to hear me go, even, believe it or not, I'm going to say this so people know what they're getting into. I've only been into Dune for about 4 years. I've been into the Matrix for 20 odd years. It goes hard. We're going to explore all the angles of Matrix, but on a regular basis.
We do our High on Cartoon podcast, which is currently in Duck Takes, a DuckTales 2017 fan podcast. Spoilers for all of DuckTales 2017, in which I mostly just info dump about my favorite TV show.
It's a lot of
fun. But here's the thing. It's still very fun. It's very engaging. I have fun. I have enjoyed it. And just listening to the two of you geek out about a show that you both clearly have a lot of love and affection for is it's a blast. It really is a lot of fun.
Thanks. It's really good to hear because, again, I forget that we have actual listeners.
So do I, honestly. I forget.
Hi, it's me, an actual listener.
I forget that
Thank
we're
you
doing
so much,
the podcast
Steven, for
while we're
regularly
recording
listening.
the podcast. So
yeah, no, I'll re-explain something, and she'll be like, "Yeah, I know," and I'm like,
yeah,
I know.
You see this microphone I'm talking into right now?
No, that's what's even more upsetting. I'm the idiot that sets up the microphones and monitors the lines
and does all the editing.
Oh, I know. I'm aware.
High on Cartoons. Check us out if you've enjoyed this rambling idiocy.
Yeah.
And honestly, every time an episode comes in under 40 minutes, I am kind of like shocked.
Yeah, no, you gave me sass for that a month or two back.
You released an episode that's like 28 minutes long.
We record them in batches and it was late and we were tired. I don't know what to tell you.
No excuses. I will accept none of this.
Thanks for the input.
Well, you're gonna
input received.
If you break an hour, I want to say you'll be our longest episode of Duct Tapes at the very least. So
we're gonna break an hour. I will make
That's the whole
sure
reason we switched over to doing a show in episodic format, because doing individual movies just led to too much time.
If you go back and you listen to our
with
Muppet
Hope,
Christmas
really?
Carol, if you go back and listen to our Muppet Christmas Carol episode, you can just hear how broken we are as human beings at that point in time.
Just the exhaustion.
It's upset. I want to do another take at the Muppet Christmas Carol eventually, because we did not do that movie or us and our love of this movie justice. That's
As someone who has to juggle the schedules of 3 very busy people every week to record this show, I understand.
Yeah.
The good news is we watch it every year. So
that's excellent news. Yes.
It's one of annual rewatch. It's a Christmas movie that always gets done. So that's us. Steven, thank you so much for having us. This has been an absolute blast.
Where can we find you guys on the socials in case people want to follow you, which they should?
Oh God,
I'm not active on social medias, but you can find me at Tyrannosaurus Bex on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Not that I post much.
I'm pretty sure
I follow you on all those, so.
Oh, there you go. All right.
I'm sorry.
And
it's fine.
I'm pretty sure on all major forms of social media these days, I am at Hope Lichtner. That's HOPELICHTNER. I'm not as social as I have been, because a lot of the ones I was using died horrible deaths,
or are owned by terrible human beings.
terrible people.
We live in the worst timeline.
I was thinking
maybe not the
earlier,
worst, but pretty close.
No,
we live in a bad timeline.
We do. No, I'm not saying that.
No, we are in the farce portion of repeating history. So it was a tragedy.
Yes.
Now it's absolutely a farce. We have Elon Musk cage fighting dipshit Zuckerberg. So I'm like, this is dumb.
Is that real?
That
can't be
they're
real.
covering up some nonsense.
Huh.
There's
other shit going on that they don't want us to know about.
So but bread and circuses, Duct Takes on all available podcast formats.
Are you is your podcast available on any platforms or
High on Cartoons?
Yeah.
our old stuff. Yeah, it should still be under the same.
It's all
listing.
been the same
Yeah.
feed the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, well, I know that, but like, do you guys have like socials for your podcast?
Oh, Jesus God.
Yeah, we have an Instagram.
Yeah, it's High on Cartoons Pod. And
Thanks
I'm
for
not
that.
as good at that one either.
Right on. I will tag all of this in our
Great.
social like
Thank you.
send out. So, and we'll also
Cool.
put it in the show notes. So no worries there. But hey, in case you forgot, this has been the epic crossover of High on Cartoons and Disenfranchised that you've been waiting for. I know all one of you have been clamoring for it, and here it is. No,
That's me.
I fucking love you guys. Hope's like, hi, it's me. I'm the one. No, I do. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this. This has been this has been an absolute blast to talk about this very problematic movie.
Oh, it's garbage, but I love
it. Always good to get angry about media with you. It's always a lot of fun.
We do it a lot. There's a lot to get angry about, honestly.
A cornerstone of friendship.
It is. It is. It's what nerds are all about.
Literally.
But we are the Disenfranchised Podcast. You can find us on all your social media platforms, by which I mean Instagram, Letterboxd, Facebook, and Twitter at DisenfranchPod. Oh, we're also on YouTube now at DisenfranchPod. You can find whole ass episodes of the show dropping there regularly. Also, I'm your host. Hi, it's me, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. Just those three at Chewy Walrus. You can find my absent co-host Brett Wright. I think he's just checking in from Cairo right now. Great. He is at sus_warlock on Instagram and Letterboxd. And you can find my other co-host Tucker, who is checking in from Atlantis. Oh, you can find him on YouTube. At Ice909. That's ICENINE09. You can also find him on Instagram.
He would be a Vonnegut reference. Son of a gun.
Yep.
That's great.
You can also find him on Instagram at Tuck, TUCK_Mugs, MUGS. You can also join our Patreon for I think at least another day or two, unless we decide to extend it. You can sign up for a free trial of our Patreon, 7 days free, and then you can join at the $5 level to get access to all sorts of bonus shows, including Hope's very first ever episode of our show, Unenfranchised, where she info dumps for 3+ hours on the Matrix Revolutions and the entire Matrix franchise.
And there's more where that came from. And
so much more. In fact, if you count that appearance, Hope, this is your 5th appearance.
Oh, I've made the 5 Timers Club.
You've made the 5 Timers. Welcome.
Happy.
Welcome aboard.
Yes,
we'll send you your bomber jacket in the mail.
Ooh, okay. Yes, I'm into that. Anything that makes my shoulders look bigger, I'm into. So
there you go. Right on.
Cool. All right. Good.
But that is, you can find that at patreon.com/disenfranchpod. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast. But if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. Let everyone know how much you love us. And please do check out High on Cartoons, because gosh, these guys just have a lot of fun, and you could have fun with them. So that is that's all I got, man. That's it. That's the episode. So I am Stephen Foxworthy.
We broke the 2-hour mark, and that's what's
we
important.
at least broke the 2-hour mark. Yes,
we got that going for us,
which is good, which is nice. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, for my absent co-host Brett Wright and Tucker, and for my very present guests, Bex Stow and Hope Lichtner. Until next time, CHIPMUNK, guaranteed to brighten your day.